Reno, I don't consider him to be a serious person. I consider him just like they are all in the league, the same league with Daniel Boala or sort of. So Reno is in the news again, and I don't know why he's doing this. That's why I actually am bringing this to you for you to give me your opinion on why he's actually doing this. Now, for our viewers, let me read this on his X um, uh, account. He said, Reno Omokri said, writes rather, corruption was not the reason Nzogo killed Amado Bello. This is the reason. Now it's a very long write-up. I'm not ready to take my time, and I don't want to actually validate or give credence or um, give this write-up make it potent, give it life. That's just it. My problem is the negativity that this write-up will is has generated or will generate is the reason why I'm even using this. I'm talking about this issue, a sort of. So I will not go through the entire write-up because I don't want to give oxygen to it, a sort of, because this man talked nonsense here. On April 19, 1964, Sir Ahmadu Bello, the premier of the northern region of Nigeria and the de facto leader of Nigeria, who had single-handedly appointed his lieutenant, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Prime Minister of Nigeria, gave an interview to a British journalist with the BBC prodded by the reporter. He outlined the reason why Northerners of that era were wary of the Igbo ethnic nationality. According to him, Igbos were a dominant tribe with a propensity to migrate to other regions while closing their area to outside influences and internal migration from other Nigerians. Now, I don't know why I'll continue, but let me talk about this paragraph. This is outright. I don't get it. Anyway, I'll be talking about this paragraph. Why people just think that Igbos close their. I don't believe in this nonsense. We'll come back to that, but I don't get it. What is Reno Omokri's problem here? Why has he chosen to actually be an antagonist of the Igbo race? I just don't understand. And let me read this before I continue. Let me read this. Somebody I had a screenshot. Somebody posted this screenshot from his page. The same Reno Omokri. He said Amadu Bello was hiding from me, but I found him and shot him dead. That is who said so. According to him, Major Chukuma Nzogo, January 15, 1966. Barrister, um, I don't know. What is your thought? You read everything, so many things. We'll go back to it because I need our viewers to understand um, our context here. So it is important. But before, we'll definitely continue. But let me ask you: do you think everything he said, or most of the things he said, he analyzed here in this write-up, are true?
Well, you have to understand that a lot has been written on the 1966 coup by even some of the participants themselves, others who witnessed the events. There's a lot of literature on the circumstances before and during the coup of 1966. I'm surprised that Reno has tried to invent a new direction. I would say event because it does not seem to tally with all the right out there. I think Ademoyega wrote a book. He was a surviving member of that coup. He wrote his own side of. Even Ojukwu gave an interview on that coup.
Yes.
Other people gave interviews. Even Obasanjo spoke about it.
Yeah, and that is why I'm surprised, because this is so. That's why I called you. I wanted you to talk about this because, like I said earlier, this is completely strange to me. I've heard of different stories, different from different versions of the what happened then, but this is own is just alien to me. Continue, please. Sorry for interrupting.
That is why I said he has invented. He's trying to invent another angle to the events that happen and have been well described by participants and watchers of the event that happened at that time. I don't know, he himself at that time, he was not an adult. I'm sure he was still a toddler by the time the events happened. And he can only talk of what he has read. I have never read somebody bringing out the angle of hatred of Major Nzogu against the.
You think Reno Omokri is that old? Is that old to be born 1966 in 1966?
I think he was born by that time, but that's why I say he was a toddler. So he could not have personal knowledge of the events that happened or the reasons thereof. All of us today are reading from what the accounts that have been given by the one or two of the five majors that were alleged to have staged the coup, other participants, other people who were in a position to say what happened during that coup, to say what happened before the coup. And from there, you can see the reasons that gave up the coup. First of all, look at the majors, Kaduna Nzogu and the rest, even Ojukwu himself. They were relatively young and vibrant Nigerian military officers. And don't forget, in the aftermath of the socialist revolution in Russia, socialism and all these coup attempts were beginning to appear as if they were fashionable then. Then you have a system where the political class, and they have repeated this thing at every opportunity that has been given to them. We have talked on this show that the political class have continually run the country down. If you read all the accounts, as at 1966, what is happening now had begun to happen. The politicians were thinking less and less of the development of Nigeria and more of their personal interests, just like we have today. The ship of state, from whatever angle you read, was going in the wrong direction. And you have young, vibrant officers with guns who were seeing power taken over by other countries, by military in other countries, who were seeing the socialist revolution in Russia and other countries. And you think they will not be affected by what they were seeing happening in Nigeria. It doesn't make sense. You can see even today, you can bet that there may be many young officers in the army that who do not like what is happening today. But for the fact that the army has grown, remember that time we just have we had few military officers, commissioned officers from the rank of lieutenant up to colonel. There were few. And from brigadier, we had, I think, one or two. Before we had Ironsi, who was a major general. Only him. So we had the army as a whole was just about one division, divided into brigades. It is now we have so many divisions of the army. That time we had just about one. And few officers who, most of them, trained together abroad and came, and they were seeing, they had the guns, they were seeing what was happening in Ghana, what happened in other countries, how military had taken over from corrupt politicians, and they were seeing politicians corrupting the system in Nigeria. at the expense of the country. So if you transport yourself back to the time, because we have benefit of hindsight, what we are seeing today is what was happening back then. And we can read from that it doesn't take any divination to see that these officers wanted to put the country right. Now, whether they succeeded or whether along the way things derailed their purpose, that is a different thing. But to now come up today in 2025 and allege that it was hatred that made Major Nzugu to kill the Sadana, that is too far-fetched. That is pure fantasy. And it fits into what Omokri is becoming. We didn't know him to be this. Overnight, he changed to something else. He became a hater of a particular tribe. There's nothing that an Igbo man can do today that Omokri will applaud or it will sit well with him. Simply because of his dispute with Peter Obi. That does not show him as a nationalist. That does not show him as a well-grounded, well-educated, and exposed person. I hate to say it. There's no way that you can begin to hate or disparage a whole tribe of very hardworking and successful people, no matter from what angle you look at it. So I become more and more surprised at the transformation of Reno Omokri. If he's not looking for patronage and appointment from Tinubu, he's looking for a favorable consideration from one part of the country or the other. And his target in all his comments nowadays is always the Southeasterners. This is very unfortunate. I do not expect him to descend into that kind of bigotry and hatred.
Now, but
it's terrible to see the descent that he has come into.
That brings me to the question I asked earlier. What do you think? Can you make sense out of what he's just doing right now? What do you think is the reason behind it? Because whatever he's doing right now, there is a sinister reason why he is doing it. He's obviously doing it out of mischief. I don't know if you agree with me on that, because I just want to understand what could be what could be the reason why he is doing this. Because do you know what this means? This is really fanning the ember of disunity, discord in the country, and hatred, even more hatred against the Igbos, for God's sake. Barrister, what do you think?
What I think is just what I said. He's trying to curry favor. His own first part, some comments that he has made clearly show that he wants to curry favor with the government of Tinubu. The other side, he wants to curry favor with some part of the North. For what purpose? I don't know. I don't know whether he wants to put himself up for any national appointment or any issue. But the overriding undercurrent of it that has pushed him this far is his hatred, his quarrel with Peter Obi. No grounded or sane person should go to that extent because you have an issue with one person in a tribe, and then you begin to tar every comment he tried to that concerns Igbos. He tried to put it in a negative way. He was not doing this. He had favorable comments on Peter Obi before. He had favorable comments on the Igbos before. Suddenly, just because, according to him, the obedient people abused him, abused his family, and Peter Obi did not intervene. That has always been his complaint, that Peter Obi was there where obedient people were abusing him, abusing his family, and Peter Obi did not say anything. So if you allow yourself that cheapness, that pedestrian thinking, I don't have much respect for your intellectual ability. Today, he has lowered himself to the very lowest level. People who had hitherto respected him, respected his comments, are seeing him as somebody who does not have or who is not worthy of any respect. I certainly do not see him today as anybody that is worth listening to, that is worth my respect. I certainly do not. The events of the 1962 coup are very clear. We may argue, and to a certain extent, there is good reason to argue that the preponderance of people killed were northerners and that the Igbos were not killed. That is, you can make an argument on that. But to go further and talk of personal hatred of Njogu against the Sadana, that is hitting below the belt. That is beyond a good reason.
Yeah, honestly, thank you so much, Barrister. Honestly, the truth is, of course, that is this what you said is just the reason why the lack of respect for him is the reason why I do not want to dignify his write-up. That's why I'm not ready to read it through because he said a whole lot of it's a very long write-up or whatever. So he said so many things that are completely just some of the paragraphs you read, you say, wow, this is really, really insightful and really, really a kind of trying to bring pitch one against the other. That is just the reality, and you can never
And
be more right.
let me add that piece of it where Njogu was quoted to have said that the Sadauna was hiding from him, but
Yes.
that piece, I don't know where it came from. From all the accounts of the 1966 coup, the Saddam never hid. He was in his house, in the residence. He didn't run away from his house. He was in his residence. And the coup people came, went up to his bedroom. He was with his wife. So how can you say somebody that was taken in those circumstances was hiding? When you stay in your house that is known, everybody knows this is your house, you are there with your family, and they come and catch, how is that hiding? He was not hiding. So those kind of comments are just meant to, they come from a heart full of hatred, trying to invent things to give a negative slant to something, which is not correct.
Yeah, it's so sad. Like you said, Omokri actually does not deserve our time. I just had to bring it. I brought it up because I just felt people should understand the kind of person he is and just disregard him.